We're all familiar with Pawn Stars. The History Channel's hit series features folks who run the famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. These people who run the shop have regular visitors each day, bringing them all sorts of artifacts, hoping to make quick cash. While some of these items are ordinary finds, we often see a few diamonds in the rough. First off, a Dutch East India trading company bell. This ancient 17th century ship's bell was brought into the shop by a woman who needed the money for an impending transfer but wasn't sure what to expect. In fact, she was considering selling it at a yard sale. Richard Harrison, aka Old Man, who is now deceased, said the bell had to be a replica because it lacked evidence of corrosion from seawater. The specialist they hired, however, affirmed that it was a shipwreck bell dated 1602 and that it was worth at least $15,000. The Harrisons and the owner of the bell swiftly came to an agreement. Second, we have the 1715 Spanish fleet gold coin. A Spanish fleet en route from Cuba to Spain in 1715, carrying millions of pesos worth of gold and silver, was struck by a hurricane and submerged off the coast of Florida. Jody, a lucky customer, got the remarkable gold coin from the shipwreck and was hoping to sell it for $2,000. Harrison initially believed the piece to be fake because of its excellent condition, but the expert was able to identify it as an 8 escudos coin made in Lima, Peru, and valued at a cool $18,000. Given that Jody's first asking price for the coin was only $2,000, he was very happy to accept Rick's final offer of $11,000. Next up, we have Edward Curtis photogravures. 20 years ago, when a woman entered Rick's store carrying 4 sets of photogravures by a renowned American photographer, Edward Curtis, the team made one of their highest profits ever. Harrison was unfamiliar with this early method of making photographs, which involved etching prints from gelatin paper and copper plates, but he took a chance on the purchase because the woman was only asking $50 for the entire collection. He discovered that the set was quite valuable after carrying out his own research, and he ultimately sold them for $20,000. Not to mention Joe Green's Olympic medals. Jumpin' Joe Green, an Olympian, experienced financial difficulty in the late 1990s and urgently needed money, and just like the rest of us, he too went straight for the pawn shop. He ultimately decided to go to the Harrison shop and sell them his 1992 and 1996 Olympic bronze medals. Even though the medals were worth $30,000, Rick promised the long jump champion that he would never sell the medals in case Green ever wanted to buy them back. Adding to the list, an Order of the White Eagle medallion. This medal was purchased for 75 cents by a fortunate yard sale enthusiast. Rick gambled $6,000 on the pendant with a lot of enamel because he thought it would be valuable. Later, expert Craig Gottlieb informed Rick that the medal was far more valuable than he had originally paid because it originated from the time when Poland was under Tsarist rule. Rick eventually sold the medal for $30,000, generating tremendous profits for both Rick and the original buyer. Moving on, a Book of Mormon. When Adam handed in his 1842 5th edition of the Book of Mormon, he received more than he anticipated. The founder of the faith, Joseph Smith, was still alive when this edition was printed, making it the final one. Adam and Rick were both pretty shocked when expert Rebecca Romney valued the book at $40,000. The two were satisfied with the deal, with the purchase price of $24,000. Now for the 1554 Spanish shipwreck gold bar. Talk about hidden gems. After his grandfather passed away, a man went through his family's stuff and discovered a gold bar stashed away in a box. He took it to the famous Pawn Stars to learn more about it because he was unsure of its value. Its meltdown value alone was $24,000, but when a specialist determined it came from the Spanish shipwreck off Padre Island in Texas in 1554, the cost immediately increased twofold. The bar is actually worth approximately $50,000, but Rick was able to purchase it for only $35,000. Sounds like a great deal to us. Up next, the 2001 Patriots Super Bowl ring. Brock Williams, a former Patriots defensive back, experienced a difficult period and went to a pawn shop for quick cash, similar to Joe Green. The youngster decided to pawn his 2001 Patriots Super Bowl ring for a meager $2,600 since injuries drove him into early retirement. He had 120 days to retain his ring by paying back the loan, but he never did, so the ring passed into the shop's possession. While comparable rings have traded hands for about $30,000 on online auction sites, Rick isn't quite ready to part with his prized possession just yet, so he set the asking price for this beauty at a staggering $100,000. Another valuable addition, 200 pounds of silver. When a customer entered the store with suitcases filled with silver that he had been keeping in a storage facility for almost 10 years, Rick and the old man were astounded. When the Harrisons weighed it out, they discovered that it was an enormous 3,300 ounces of silver, which is significantly more silver than they generally deal in. They paid $110,000 for the silver and turned that into much greater riches. Custom minted $70 silver coins bearing a likeness of the senior, now sadly deceased Harrison, and bearing the inscription, "In the Old Man We Trust," is one of the unusual ways they have cashed in. Let's look at John F. Kennedy's cigar box. A piece of presidential history received the largest reward in Pawn Stars' 12-season history. The box of cigars that used to be on John F. Kennedy's desk in the Oval Office entered the store with a seller. With a price tag of $95,000 for the box, this vendor was no fool. Rick eventually agreed to pay $60,000 for JFK's cigar box after some bargaining. He undoubtedly made a wise investment in this one-of-a-kind piece. In 1996, the publisher of Cigar Aficionado paid a staggering $575,000 at a Sotheby's auction for a comparable JFK humidor. Following on, Stephen Stills guitar, a 1941 Gibson SJ200 guitar, once owned by Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills & Nash, showed up at a Pawn Star customer's door. You know there will be a large price tag attached whenever a musical instrument owned by a famous musician makes its way to the market, and that was exactly what happened. Even the rock star's signature and a receipt were included. Rick Harrison stopped himself from snatching up the stunning artwork as soon as he started salivating over it. He hired a specialist to confirm the instrument's authenticity and to answer the terrifying question, what's it worth? The vintage piece was worth $75,000 to $90,000 on its own as a classic musical instrument, but when the prior famous owner was included, the price increased by another $20,000 or more. As you might imagine, Harrison was happy to be able to purchase it from the previous owner for the pitiful, but still astounding price of $85,000. Vic Flick's 1961 Fender Strat. Even though the Pawn Star crew enjoys seeing instruments with recognizable fingerprints enter the store, occasionally the more understated items will pleasantly surprise you. An older man entered the store carrying a 1961 Fender Strat, one of the most famous rock guitars, and softly introduced himself as Vic Flick. The revelation didn't immediately impress Rick Harrison, but his perspective changed when the specialist he consulted displayed a little more respect in the presence of the renowned studio musician who was best known for recording the original James Bond theme song, among a host of other well-known works. Harrison was able to purchase the instrument for a stunning $55,000 after determining its value to certainly be $60,000 to $70,000. Flick left with the cash in his back pocket and appeared to be happy with the arrangement. He said that he would take his wife out for a beer or two to commemorate the occasion. Last but not least, a Gibson Les Paul SG Custom. Harrison's antenna immediately went up when a customer entered the store carrying a stunning 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul custom guitar that belonged to his Aunt Mary. When the customer calmly revealed that his Aunt Mary was actually Mary Ford, the wife of Les Paul, Rick couldn't believe his luck. In other words, the instrument was not only a Les Paul, but it belonged to Paul's wife, a well-known singer and musician in her own right. He had to essentially kick the guitar specialist out of the shop before he revealed too much when he arrived and validated everything, stating a $150,000 minimum worth with hints of a much higher selling price at auction. Rick and the customer immediately started bargaining over a purchase price because Harrison had no concerns about being able to sell the item if he could get it. And get this, by the time they were done negotiating, the price had gone up as high as $250,000. That's a wrap for this video. Which of these trades was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.